Introduction. Have you ever felt like you've carried something different since you were born? Like there's an energy following you, guiding you, influencing your path? If you don't understand where it comes from, well, know that this feeling might not just be intuition. According to Buddhist philosophy, the last digit of your birth year isn't just a random number, it's a seal, a spiritual marker that reveals deep traits of your essence, your karma, and the mission you came to fulfill in this life. And the most striking thing is that this number can explain so much of what you've experienced up to now, why certain situations seem to repeat, why you attract certain types of people, why some areas of your life flow effortlessly while others always feel stuck. Buddhist wisdom teaches that this number represents the vibration that defines your journey, the lessons you came to integrate, the challenges you need to overcome, and the virtues you already carry from past lives. In this video, I'm going to show you what each number from 0 to 9 means with a depth you've never seen before. This isn't superficial reading, it's revelation, it's awakening. Because when you understand the energy that's been with you since birth, everything starts to make sense and life truly begins to align. If you enjoy topics like spirituality, health, and self-discovery, give this video a like. Subscribe to the channel to keep receiving this kind of content, because here we talk about what really matters. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I want to know how far this spiritual message is reaching. Understanding the numbers. Now you might be wondering, how can a number reveal so much about me? That's where the most fascinating part begins. Because in Buddhist philosophy, numbers aren't just tools for counting or measuring time. They are vibrations, living symbols that carry a specific energy, a kind of spiritual signature that, when understood, can reveal why you feel what you feel, why you attract what you attract, and even why certain things seem to always happen to you and not to others. Buddhist monks have always believed that each number has the power to open portals. Yes, portals, but not in the mystical, fictional sense. They're internal portals, gateways to parts of you that were dormant. Each number is connected to an aspect of being, personality, destiny, purpose, life lessons, old traumas, and even karmic cycles you might be repeating without realizing. And all of this vibration is hidden in that last digit of your birth year. The most incredible thing is that you've carried this number forever, from your first cry, your first step. Even without knowing, you were born with this energetic mark. And it's been present in your decisions, your fears, your dreams, your relationships. Everything you've lived through carries a bit of this number's energy. And now, by understanding what it represents, you'll be able to name feelings that were once just vague sensations. This isn't about boxing you in. It's not about limiting who you are. It's the exact opposite. It's about expanding your consciousness, about looking at your story with more clarity, about finally understanding why some things were so hard, while others felt so natural to you. Each number we'll talk about here represents a type of strength, an energy that accompanies you, and if understood, can become your greatest ally. Exploring the numbers. Before we start revealing the meaning of each number, there's something important I need to tell you, especially if you're one of those curious, observant people who love understanding life's connections. Don't just look at your own number. Look at the numbers of the people close to you too. Your partner, your children, your parents, grandparents, closest friends. You'll be surprised by what you find. Because when you understand the vibration of those you love, the relationship changes. You start to comprehend behaviors, patterns, even challenges that always seemed like just their personality, but are actually part of that soul's mission. And often you'll realize that the numbers align, that it's no coincidence you and that person crossed paths. There's something bigger connecting it all. And when you see this invisible web, everything starts to make more sense. So watch for yourself, but if you can, watch with the eyes of those you love too. Because this knowledge can transform not just your life, but also how you nurture your bonds. Number 0. The cycle of rebirth. The number 0 is the most misunderstood of all. Many people think it represents nothing, that it's emptiness, absence. But in the Buddhist spiritual view, 0 is the opposite of that. 0 is everything. It's the beginning and the end at the same time. It's the complete cycle. It's the sacred space where everything can be born, because nothing is fixed. Everything is transformation. If your birth year ends in 0, you carry a profound energy of rebirth, cycles, and reconstruction, and this can explain a lot about how your life unfolds. People marked by the number 0 often experience major phases of transition. It's as if at every important stage of life, something needs to die for another part to be born. You may have gone through radical changes in career, city, relationships, ways of thinking. To outsiders, it might look like instability, but inside, it's your soul saying, "This no longer serves me. It's time for something new." This constant reinvention can give you a flexibility others envy, but it can also bring a feeling of never being truly ready. And that's where the challenge lies, because those who carry zero often feel like they're always starting over. You build, break, begin again. You get excited, get frustrated, try again, and that can be exhausting. It gives the impression that you're always chasing something that never arrives. But the truth is, you're not behind. You're just living at the pace of your soul, and your soul came to learn to trust the flow, even when you don't understand the path. This energy also gives you a rare ability to find peace in the midst of chaos. You have the gift of seeing a way out when no one else does, of turning ruins into new beginnings, of finding strength even when everything seems lost. The people around you often don't even realize how much you've had to rebuild yourself. But the fact that you're here now, watching this video, is yet another proof that you survived every time you thought you wouldn't. The most beautiful aspect of zero is that it doesn't impose, it invites. It shows possibilities, paths, doors. You feel like you can be anything, that you're still under construction, that something big is waiting for you, even if you don't know exactly what. And that's true because zero is the number of potential. Everything is born from it, including the most unlikely dreams. But to live this, you need to trust. Trust in endings, and above all, trust in new beginnings. And yes, sometimes you'll feel lost. You'll wonder if you're on the right path. You'll look around and see everyone with defined plans while you're still rediscovering yourself. But that's not weakness, that's courage. The courage to be true to who you are, even when everything asks you to fit in. Your path is different, and the more you accept that, the more life starts aligning with your essence. So if you were born with this mark, remember zero isn't emptiness, it's space, it's freedom, it's possibility. You didn't come to repeat formulas, you came to open new doors, to teach others that the end of a cycle isn't the end of life, it's just the start of a new version of yourself. Number 1. The leader's path. If your birth year ends in 1, you carry the energy of leadership, initiative, and creation. The number 1 is the first step. It's what breaks inertia. The one who goes ahead, even when the path isn't clear. People with this mark often have an inner strength that's hard to explain. From a young age, you may have felt you needed to make decisions on your own, that no one would do it for you. And somehow you managed because that's your essence, forging a path where there was nothing. Those who carry the one are often restless, visionary. They see what others don't, and they feel an urgency in their chest that they can't always explain. It's that sense that you need to do something big, leave a mark, achieve something far beyond the ordinary. But with this strength comes a burden, because leading often means walking without a map. It's feeling alone, misunderstood, even rejected by those who don't grasp your speed or vision. And maybe you've heard, bossy, controlling, too independent. But behind all that is a soul that just wants to move forward, that doesn't accept stagnation, that was born to break limits. This energy, if not well balanced, can turn into self-demanding perfectionism, rigidity, isolation. People with the number 1 need to learn to trust, to delegate, to share, because true leadership isn't about doing everything alone, it's about inspiring others to do it with you. The good news is that this energy of initiative gives you a rare advantage. You don't wait for life to happen, you make it happen. While others dream, you're already acting. While others plan, you're already trying. And even when you fail, you get up fast. You learn on the go. You turn failure into experience. That's gold. It's exactly what makes you grow faster, even if it sometimes feels like you're behind. But here's an important warning. Don't turn your independence into armor. You don't need to prove anything to anyone all the time. You don't need to always be right. You don't need to win every battle. Sometimes true power lies in listening, in asking for help, in showing vulnerability. And you'll notice that when you lower your guard, connections become truer, and paths open with more ease. Another beautiful thing about this energy is the courage it carries. You're not afraid to start from scratch, to change everything if needed, to go against the tide. That can scare those used to the comfort zone, but it's exactly what makes you an example, a point of light in the midst of sameness. Use this wisely, because the world needs people who aren't afraid to start. So if the number one is your mark, accept your role. You came to be a beacon, not a mirror, to guide, not to follow. But remember, even a leader needs rest, needs care, needs a place where they can just be themselves. And when you find that balance, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop you. Number 2, the harmonizer. If the last digit of your birth year is 2, then you came into the world with a quiet but powerful mission to harmonize. The energy of the number 2 is the bridge between extremes. It's the one who listens before speaking, who feels more than others notice. And because of that, from a young age, you may have felt different, more sensitive, more affected by arguments, more bothered by heavy environments. The truth is, your soul came with the gift of restoring peace, but that gift also exposes you to a lot of pain. People with the number 2 are deeply empathetic. They sense what others are feeling without anyone needing to say a word. And that can be beautiful, but also exhausting because you tend to absorb emotions that aren't yours. You suffer for others. You care almost too much. And in many moments of life, this has made you dim yourself. Stay silent to avoid hurting others. Give in to keep the peace. Stay where you no longer wanted just to avoid conflict. And maybe you felt like you carry the emotional weight of everyone around you. Family, friends, relationships. You try to be everyone's foundation. And even when no one thanks you, you stay there steady, holding it all up. But inside, sometimes you feel invisible, forgotten, like the world doesn't see your effort. And that hurts. But that pain carries a calling, to learn to prioritize yourself, to respect yourself, to care for yourself with the same tenderness you offer others. The energy of the number 2 also carries ancestral wisdom. You know how to mediate, understand both sides, see the truth behind conflict. That's why people often come to you for advice. They trust you. They feel your calm, your welcoming presence. But you need to remember that your mission isn't to save anyone. It's to inspire by example, to show that it's possible to live with balance without erasing yourself. This number also speaks of partnerships. You thrive in we, in bonds, in shared affection. But the big challenge is finding relationships with true reciprocity, not dependence, because those with the number 2 often attract people who need healing. And, if you're not whole, you can end up losing yourself in the process of trying to heal others. So take care of yourself first, because only someone who's whole can offer love without breaking apart. There's also a quiet strength within you. Many think that because you're kind, you're weak. They're gravely mistaken. Your strength lies in consistency, in the gentleness that sustains, in the peace you offer even amidst chaos. And the world desperately needs people like you, who know how to unite where there's division, who know how to listen when everyone's shouting. Don't underestimate that. It's one of the most beautiful missions anyone can carry. If you carry the number 2, your soul has a pact with peace. But remember, there's no true peace when you abandon yourself. Balance starts within. So look at yourself with the same kindness you give the world. Give yourself the understanding you so freely offer, because when you value yourself, everything around you aligns. Number 3, the creative force. If your birth year ends in 3, you carry a vibrant, creative, and expansive energy. The energy of the number 3 is about expression, communication, and connecting with joy. People with this mark are often seen as light, charismatic, spontaneous. From a young age, many stand out for bringing joy to spaces, whether through words, art, humor, or simply their presence. But behind this brightness, there's often a soul that uses joy as a shield, because the 3 feels deeply, lives intensely. Everything is amplified: pain, beauty, emotion. And to deal with this intensity, the soul creates escape valves: creativity, exaggeration, humor, distractions. You might be the person who lifts everyone's spirits but hides your own wounds behind a smile. Who cracks a joke when you're really crying for help inside? Who's always surrounded by people but sometimes feels a loneliness you can't explain? The energy of the 3 is like a fountain that never stops flowing. Ideas, projects, plans, dreams. But often there's a lack of focus, a lack of structure. You start 1,000 things, get excited, dive in, and then lose interest, leave it half done. And that can frustrate you, make you doubt yourself, feel like you don't finish anything, that you're not disciplined enough. But the truth is, you just need to learn to channel, to direct that creative energy with more purpose, without losing your lightness, but being more intentional. You were born with the gift of words, of art, of sensitivity. You can express yourself through music, writing, speaking, touch, a look. When you speak, people listen. When you create, something transforms, because your energy touches others in a subtle but profound way. And the world needs that. It needs beauty, truth, people who know how to turn the ordinary into something magical. The challenge for the number 3 is not getting lost in distractions, not living only on the surface because you have depth, you have wisdom, you have stories that need to be told, but you often run from your own pain and end up living only in the colorful side of things. That's not bad, but when you allow yourself to dive in with courage, with authenticity, everything changes. Your creations gain soul, your words gain healing, and your presence becomes a beacon. You are light, but you need to remember that even light has shadow, and it's okay to feel. It's okay to slow down. It's okay not to be okay all the time. That doesn't take away your essence. It only brings you closer to your truth. And the truer you are to yourself, the more powerful the energy you give to the world becomes. So if you were born with the mark of the number 3, embrace your mission to express, to move, to transform, but without losing yourself. Because when you find that balance, your life becomes a masterpiece. Number 4, the builder. If the last digit of your birth year is 4, then you carry within you the energy of structure, stability, and construction. The soul marked by the 4 comes into the world with the mission to organize, to sustain, to create solid foundations. You're probably the kind of person others turn to when everything's falling apart, because you have the gift of bringing order to chaos, of seeing logic where there's only mess, of building where no one sees possibilities. But this energy also comes with a weight, because those with the number 4 feel they can't fail, that they have to handle everything, that they have to be strong all the time. From a young age, you may have felt a greater responsibility to be the example, the mature one, the one who endures, the one who fixes, and sometimes that makes you carry more than you should, trying to hold the world on your shoulders while no one notices that you get tired too. The number 4 brings a practical, rational mind, focused on results. You like stability, security, knowing where you stand. You plan, organize, calculate, and that helps you achieve goals that many lack the discipline to pursue. But at the same time, this need for control can stop you from opening up to the new. It can trap you in routines, in patterns that protect you, but also limit you. How many times have you held on to a relationship that no longer made sense, just because it was the right thing to do? How many times did you ignore a gut feeling because the plan didn't seem safe enough? People with the energy of the 4 need to learn that firmness isn't rigidity, that being stable doesn't mean shutting out change. Sometimes you have to dismantle old structures to build something even stronger. And even with all this rationality, you feel deeply, you just don't show it. You keep it to yourself. You care about appearing resolved, balanced, reliable. And because of that, many don't even imagine how much you struggle internally. But the truth is, even the strongest foundations need maintenance. And taking care of yourself is also part of the mission. The most beautiful side of the number 4 is that it doesn't give up. You can fall 10 times and get up 11. You can face crises, losses, ruptures, and still keep going, building. And that consistency is rare, it's precious, but it needs to come with lightness, with faith, with permission to improvise now and then. Because living isn't just planning, it's also feeling. If the 4 is your mark, embrace your calling as a builder. But remember, the strongest foundations are those that can adapt to the terrain. You didn't come just to raise walls. You came to create structures where other souls can grow, including your own. Number 5, the explorer. If the last digit of your birth year is 5, then you weren't born to stay still. Your soul carries the vibration of freedom, change, and a constant search for new experiences. The number 5 represents the wind, invisible, unpredictable, but impossible to contain. People with this energy often have an inner restlessness that's hard to explain. They're always in motion physically, mentally, or spiritually, and they're often misunderstood because of it. From a young age, you may have felt like you didn't fit in fixed places. School, jobs, relationships, anything that demands repetition and routine can suffocate you. And it's not out of laziness. It's because your soul craves novelty. You need stimulation, variety, space to create. And when you feel trapped, you dim, you wilt, you fall into internal conflict because to you, living is synonymous with experiencing, learning, transforming. But this thirst for change can also lead you down tough paths. You might give up on good things too soon, or dive into new adventures without thinking. Impulsivity is both a blessing and a challenge because it pulls you out of the comfort zone, but can also lead to exhaustion, scattered energy, instability. People with the number 5 need to learn to balance freedom with responsibility, to soar high but with direction. The truth is, you have an explorer's soul. You came to the world to discover the new, and not just places, but ideas, people, philosophies, lifestyles. Your mind is open, questioning, curious. You don't accept ready-made answers. You like to think for yourself. And that's why often you feel like you're always 2 steps ahead of others while the world's still debating. You've already changed course. And yes, you might have been called fickle, unstable, inconsistent. But what few understand is that your consistency lies in movement. You transform to survive. You adapt to grow. You live what most people only dare to imagine. And even when you mess up, you learn fast. You start again, better, more aware, more whole. But here's an important point. Freedom isn't the absence of commitment. It's having the courage to choose what makes sense and stick with it. Not everything that binds is a prison. Some connections, some projects, some routines can be temples of expansion as long as they align with your soul. And when you find that, everything flows with ease. If the number 5 is your mark, embrace the call of change. But don't run from yourself because the greatest journey of your life won't be geographic. It'll be internal. It'll be the moment you stop and say, now I know who I am and I can go wherever I want. Number 6. The caregiver. If your birth year ends in 6, then your soul carries one of the most sensitive and powerful energies at the same time. The energy of love, compassion, and service. Those born with this mark often have an enormous heart, a sense of responsibility for others' well-being that goes far beyond the norm. They're the ones who care without asking for anything in return, who feel others' pain as if it were their own, who carry the world on their shoulders without making a fuss. From a young age, you may have taken on roles that weren't yours, cared for siblings, calmed arguments, were the emotional support of the family, and even when no one asked, you felt you needed to be there, helping, comforting, making everything okay. But behind this care, there's often a soul that hasn't learned to care for itself. Because the number 6 gives so much, it sometimes forgets to ask, what about me? People with this energy tend to attract all kinds of broken people. People who need healing, who seek a shoulder, a home, a safe space, and you provide it. You always provide it. But the challenge is understanding that your love can't fix everyone. That loving others doesn't mean erasing yourself. That compassion isn't carrying burdens that aren't yours. And that's one of the hardest lessons for the number 6, setting boundaries without feeling guilty. There's a rare beauty in how you see the world. You see potential where others see failure. You see light where everything seems dark. You have the gift of transforming spaces, healing invisible wounds, making any place lighter, safer, more loving. But you need to remember that even caregivers need care, that your heart needs a break too, that your soul needs comfort too. The energy of the 6 is also deeply tied to family, home, roots. Maybe you value emotional bonds greatly, or maybe you've suffered precisely because you didn't have that as you wished. But either way, this search for belonging follows you. You have the mission of creating real connections with others, with yourself, with life. Just be careful not to confuse love with attachment or care with control. And even with all this giving, you have desires too, dreams, plans. The world needs your sensitivity, yes, but it also needs your voice, your art, your project, your purpose. Loving others should never mean forgetting yourself. And when you find that balance, when you learn to say no without guilt, Your energy expands in a way that heals just by being present. If the number 6 is your mark, embrace your mission to care, but promise yourself that this care will include you. Because when you care for yourself, nurture yourself, respect yourself, then you can truly fulfill what your soul came to do here. Spread love without losing yourself in the process. Number 7. The Seeker of Truth. If your birth year ends in 7, then your soul didn't come to live on the surface. You carry within you a constant search for meaning, for truth, for something beyond what the eyes can see. The energy of the number 7 is one of introspection, wisdom, and spirituality. People with this mark aren't satisfied with the obvious. They need to understand the why of things, dive deep, dismantle everything until they find the essence. From a young age, you may have felt you didn't think like others. While everyone was distracted by the external world, you were trying to understand the internal one. You might have been the quiet, observant child full of questions no one could answer. And because of that, you may have felt out of place, different, even misunderstood. But that difference is exactly your mission. You came to see what others can't. The number 7 has a natural connection to the invisible, to spirituality, to ancestral wisdom. You may not follow a religion, but you feel there's something greater, something that guides you, that speaks to you through signs, dreams, intuitions. And when you connect with that, whether through meditation, art, silence, everything starts to make sense. It's like your soul remembers the path. But with this depth comes the risk of isolation. The 7 likes to be alone, needs moments of retreat, of silence, of pause, and that's essential. But in excess, it can distance you from the world, from practical life, from real relationships. So one of your biggest challenges is balancing spirituality with presence, introspection with connection, wisdom with simplicity. You might be the person others turn to for venting, for advice, because you exude a calm, a clarity, a presence that comforts. But you don't always feel that way inside. Sometimes you're in pieces too. You've just learnt to hide it. But the soul of the 7 only blossoms when it's true, when it has the courage to show its questions, its fragilities, its voids. This energy also brings a huge thirst for learning, for reading, for fertile silence, for knowledge that liberates. And when you turn that into practice, when you share what you know, when you teach, when you guide, you fulfill one of the most beautiful purposes of your soul, illuminating paths with words that come from within. If the number 7 is your mark, embrace your deep nature. But remember, the spiritual path doesn't have to be solitary. There's wisdom in a hug, in simple conversation, in the presence of others too. And when you blend your depth with the lightness of connection, that's when your soul finds the balance it's always seeking. Number 8. The Manifestor. If the last digit of your birth year is 8, then you carry a powerful energy of realization. The number 8 is the symbol of balance between heaven and earth, between the spiritual and the material. It's the force of manifestation, leadership, prosperity. People with this mark often feel from a young age a deep desire to achieve, to grow, to leave a legacy. But what few understand is that this desire isn't just ambition, it's a calling of the soul. You may have noticed that you could never settle for little, that you always sought more impact, more results, more purpose. And because of that, you may have felt the weight of expectation, the pressure to always succeed, to support others, to never fail. Because when the 8 isn't well resolved, it lives on a tightrope between success and burnout. This energy brings a natural talent for leadership, organization, creating paths where others see only obstacles. You're good at making decisions, solving problems, turning ideas into reality. But sometimes, this isolates you, pulls you away from lightness, from rest, because the number 8 struggles to stop, to trust, to let go of control. And over time, this can disconnect you from your essence. People with this vibration have the gift of attracting prosperity, but only when aligned with their values. When the 8 loses touch with the soul and lives only for the external world, things start to unravel. Financial problems, empty relationships, anxiety, a sense of emptiness, even surrounded by achievements. Because true success for those with the 8 isn't just material, it's when external conquests reflect an internal truth. And yes, you may have had to grow up early, take on too many responsibilities, prove your worth constantly. You may have faced hard falls, financial losses, disappointments, where you invested the most. But all of that was part of your learning, understanding that you can be strong without being rigid, that you can be prosperous without forgetting your soul. The number 8 also carries a strong spiritual call. Even if it's not obvious at first, at some point in your life, you'll feel you need more, that it's not enough to make money, gain status, hit goals. There's something inside you that needs to serve, to impact, to help. And that's when everything changes. When you align your purpose with your power of realization, you become unstoppable. If the 8 is your mark, embrace your mission to build. But remember, the most important structure you can raise is the one that houses your peace. Achieve, yes, but without losing yourself. Leading the world is beautiful, but leading yourself is what truly transforms everything. Number 9, the healer. If the last digit of your birth year is 9, then you carry one of the highest vibrations there is, the vibration of compassion, wisdom, and the completion of cycles. The number 9 represents the end of a journey, the closure of a long learning process that began in past lives. People with this mark often feel, without understanding why, a deep sensitivity to the world's suffering. It's as if their heart is always open, and because of that, more exposed. From a young age, you may have felt different, like you carried an invisible burden, a pain you didn't know the source of. You may have felt a strange loneliness, even surrounded by people, or the sense that your mission here is bigger than any title, status, or material achievement. And it's true, those born with the energy of the 9 came to serve, to heal, to teach, to transform pain into empathy, and empathy into action. You're the kind of person others turn to when they're lost, because your presence conveys wisdom, comfort, a quiet strength that inspires. But you don't always feel that strong yourself. Sometimes you give too much, feel too much, carry weights that aren't yours. And that's why one of the greatest lessons for your soul is to learn to care for yourself with the same love you give the world. The 9 has a natural connection to social, spiritual, humanitarian causes. You may get involved with projects, people, stories that touch you deeply, but the challenge is not losing yourself in these acts of giving, not carrying all the world's suffering on your shoulders because you came to transform, not to sacrifice yourself. Your pain matters too, your rest is sacred too. People with this vibration often experience significant losses, intense relationships, impactful goodbyes because the 9 came to close cycles, not just their own, but also those of the people around them. Often you're the bridge between the old and the new, between what needs to end and what's about to begin. And that requires emotional strength, spiritual strength, maturity, things you often had to develop earlier than expected. The most beautiful part of this energy is that the more you embrace your sensitivity, the more it transforms into light. You start to see that your presence heals, that your words touch, that your story can be the path for others to find meaning. You become both a mirror and a beacon. But only when you honor your own path with the same compassion you offer others. If the number 9 is your mark, embrace your mission. But remember, closing cycles doesn't mean erasing yourself. It means transforming. And you came for that, to be the bridge between what was and what can still be. Conclusion. Now that you understand the meaning of your number, maybe a lot of things have started to fall into place. Situations you lived through and didn't understand, cycles that repeated, decisions that seemed irrational but now make perfect sense. Because the truth is, this number has always been the constant, subtly guiding your journey. It's not a sentence, but it's a clue, a key, a reflection of what your soul chose to live in this existence. You may not remember, but a part of you chose to be here, chose to be born in the year you were, with the number you carry, because this energy represents an essential lesson, and denying that would be like refusing a gift, a map, a reminder of why you're here. When you start recognizing this vibration within you, everything changes. You stop blaming yourself so much. Stop comparing yourself. Start accepting yourself with more lightness, with more clarity, with more compassion. Many people spend their lives asking, why me? Why does this always happen to me? And sometimes the answer is right there in the last digit of your birth year. This number reveals the kind of energy that accompanies you, the challenges you'll face, the gifts you carry. And when you understand this, you start acting with more awareness, choosing with more wisdom, living with more purpose. This doesn't mean everything will be easy. Life is still made of choices, attempts, mistakes, and successes. But with this knowledge, you walk more consciously, more awake, more connected to your essence. And that's the real power, living aligned with who you truly are. Because when you ignore this energy, everything stalls. You feel disconnected, lost, like you're always swimming against the current. But when you embrace this vibration, everything starts to flow. Answers come, doors open, and even challenges take on new meaning. They stop being punishments and become invitations to grow. Think about it. How many times have you felt like you were living the same story over and over, that certain patterns repeat, that certain emotions hit you like waves out of nowhere? That's not random. Those are signs that there's a lesson there, a cycle that needs to close, a call from your soul to remember who you are and live the life you truly came to live. So now that you know this energy, what are you going to do with it? Ignore it and keep living on autopilot, or use this knowledge to transform your life, your relationships, your choices. The decision, as always, is yours. But know this awareness will never go away because once the soul awakens, it doesn't go back to sleep. Now that you've made it this far, tell me how many things clicked for you. How many times during this video did you catch yourself remembering moments from your life and thinking, that's why, that's how it works? When we connect with wisdom that goes beyond the logical, something inside us awakens. And that awakening is irreversible. The truth is, the last digit of your birth year isn't just a detail. It's a reminder, an energetic code that's been with you since you arrived here. It speaks of who you are, what you came to learn, and what you're ready to transform. And when you start honoring this vibration, life begins to respond differently. So if this video touched you in some way, leave a like. It shows YouTube that this content matters and helps more people find these messages. Subscribe to the channel to keep getting content like this, and do me and yourself a favor, comment below where you're watching from. I want to know how far this message has traveled. I want to see how far this energy is spreading. And remember, your journey isn't random. The numbers that accompany you aren't either. They're part of your soul's map. And now that you've started decoding this map, the path ahead will never be the same.